Greetings, NBLSA. My name is Cassie Cole, and I am serving as this year's National Director of Education and Career Development. As a part of our November E-Attorney Series, I am joined by Mr. Orton Endow here. He's a second-year judicial law clerk for the Honorable Kevin Fox in the Southern District of New York. Orton's going to talk to you a little bit today about judicial clerkships and internships.
What is a judicial clerkship? Let's start at the beginning. Well, it depends on your judge. They assign you different tasks, so you don't necessarily know exactly what you're going to do, but it's something that you would ask in the interview process. Me, with Judge Fox, what I do is I manage our docket, I write his opinions, and I sit with him while he's in court every day. And as you can imagine, I get a whole lot of different experiences just by going through these different processes. So it's a unique experience with each judge that you end up clerking for, if you are fortunate enough to actually obtain a clerkship. It's a unique experience, but they all provide the same nucleus of good opportunity to learn. All right, why should you do this? Or why should you go through all this process? I want to be a lawyer. I don't necessarily want to go work for a judge and do this schooling thing again. Like, why should you do this? Well, there's a number of different reasons. One, everybody will tell you, like, oh yes, you're going to learn a lot about how to do your job. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to see a lot of attorneys. You're going to see a lot of bad attorneys. And you'll see a lot of good ones. And you'll see a lot of things that you should and shouldn't do. But for me, the primary thing, considering that we just had this crazy economic downturn, I mean, no job is a guarantee at this point. So job security, it's one of the most important things that you can go for. I imagine you came to law school to work afterwards, and you didn't just come to law school to just sit at home with your parents. Nobody wants to do that. But what the judicial clerkship allows you to do, no matter where you're clerking, you can clerk federal, you can clerk state, but one, because of the fact that it teaches you how to be an attorney early on, you can imagine that wherever you work or anybody that's going to hire you is going to value those skills. So it allows you to do a lot of different things. When coming into this process, I actually have a position at a law firm. I love my law firm. Law firm's great. I'm looking forward to going back there. I'll be going to Ropes and Gray as a third-year litigation associate. But what clerking has provided me the opportunity with, say, for whatever reason, I don't want to go to Ropes and Gray. If there's other practice areas at another firm that I'm interested in, I can send applications in, and I'll be considered because I have this on my resume, and people are interested in me because of that fact. So it provides you with a certain level of job security that you really can't get anywhere else this early in your career. You can be the #1 person in your class, but I mean, there's a lot of people that were #1 in their class. There's a lot of law schools. There's an AM Law Top 100. There's a lot of law schools, so there's 100 people that were #1 in their class. It's not really that unique. All right, so, okay, the differences between courts. How do you choose a court? There's so many different types of courts. Like, where would you want to go with where do you want to clerk? There's so many different options that, well, you can try a trial court. If you do a trial court, it's going to provide you with specific skills. You actually see the lawyers interacting with them, and you'll see exactly what not to do. It provides you with a physical example of what should I do as a lawyer. That's the benefit of clerking at a trial court. You clerk at the appellate level, it provides you with just, it's not so, you don't see attorneys very often. I mean, sometimes you will when they sit and argue before you, but generally, when the oral arguments occur, it's mostly just to clarify small issues. It's not the full-blown event as a trial court. So, appellate, you'll learn a lot more about writing, which is the bread and butter of lawyering. But the trial court sort of gives you a little bit more of, well, what should I do? How should I act? What am I going to do? When should you clerk? It's one of those things. It's a personal decision because, understandably, clerks generally don't get paid the big bucks. But in my estimation, I think it's best to clerk as early in your career as possible because hopefully, granted, different law students have different paths and you might have gone in older, so you might have a little bit more responsibility than somebody who's, say, 27 as I am. But if you clerk early on in your career, fresh out of law school, you're sort of used to not having any money because so I mean, the paycheck you do get from clerking is pretty good because, I mean, you came out of school, you weren't really making any money anyway. I mean, I don't know too many students that did make a significant amount of money while they're in law school, but, you know, some do. I didn't. I don't think I have a very unique experience in that regard. All right, what can you do to make yourself more competitive? Well, there's a lot of different things you can do. Like, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat. Me, myself, I wasn't on journal, I wasn't on moot court, but I realized early on, you know, I had to do something to distinguish myself. I can't just go through. I mean, it's one of the most competitive application processes you'll go through. So what you can do is you can take a judicial internship. What is the benefit of a judicial internship? Essentially, you're getting the opportunity to be a clerk, but the bar is so much lower for you to actually get in. And it provides you an ability to get a relationship with a judge who can write you a letter of recommendation, and also get relationships with clerks to see exactly what they do. I mean, when I began, I started telling you a little bit about what I do. But, I mean, in the abstract, what does it really mean to you if I say, you know, I manage a docket? You don't know what I'm doing. But if you actually do a judicial internship, you see what people do. And on top of that, it'll give you a writing sample. And all judges don't allow you to do it, but one judge might. If you redact enough information, they might let you use an opinion as a writing sample. Fortunately, if you can use an opinion as a writing sample, that carries a lot of weight with attorneys and judges as well when you're applying for clerkships. So, say you can print it out on Westlaw. You can tell them this is mine. This is what I did. Plus, I'm good law still. So I mean, it gives you a tremendous upend to try to do these judicial internships. And if you're fortunate enough to live in an area like D.C. or New York or New Jersey, there's so many federal courts, there's so many state courts, so many different types of courts, that there's a lot of different judicial internships that you can do. And if you do an externship, which is something during the semester, you'll have far less competition than you would something in the summer. Because as you can imagine, in New York and D.C., there's a lot of students that come from other places willing to work in the summer, but there's a lot less during the year. So doing these externships provides you with a tremendous advantage. And if you're a 3L right now, it's not over. You can still do a lot of things. You still have a chance. So you still have one semester left. If you haven't done a judicial internship yet, you can do one. You can try to find a judge. I would suggest going on a blitzkrieg and just calling people to see if they're still accepting applications for interns. Use all your resources. Talk to your professors. Tell them you really want to clerk. You didn't want to clerk before, but you got something is motivating you. It has to be. Please make up some sort of decent reason that you didn't take steps prior to now. But whatever it may be, you can still take these steps. And as a 3L, if you decide to do this now and you didn't previously decide to do it, you're also going to need a letter of recommendation. So what do you do? How do you get that? Well, you can go to professors. I would suggest going to professors that you know to be open and friendly, and tell them, I would like a letter of recommendation for you, but I know we haven't had that much interaction, but can I do some research assignments for you, anything like that? Because a lot of professors do a lot of writing. You will want to go after the professors that you know are very active in the law. And those professors will likely have all kinds of extra work. Because, I mean, if they're writing an article, they're going to need people to research this, and research so many different issues, because when they're writing articles, it's a very intensive process. So there's a lot of opportunity for you to help out. And if you do help out and you do good work and they like you, they're going to write you a good letter of recommendation. As you can imagine, a letter of recommendations they're not all created equal. And most professors aren't going to bash you in a letter of recommendation. But it's possible that a letter of recommendation can be very veiled, and it's clear for most readers that when a letter of recommendation is bland and not truly genuine, and it's not giving you everything that you need. So that's why you need to get these recommendations from people who can trust you and you trust, and sometimes they won't let you read them. So if you're a 3L now, I would just suggest go after these professors, try to let them know you're trying to get to know them, and you want them to get to know you, and you want to do some work for them so they can understand who you really are.